fascinating discussion. I especially want to thank Paul Saunders of Council here at Cravath for providing this room, for providing the lunch, for providing so much over the years to the Constitution Project. Some of you in New York may not know who we are. We are about 13 years old. We're based in Washington. And our mission is to safeguard the Constitution by putting together consensus recommendations for reform from the right and the left together. We are, so far as I know, the only organization in the country that gets conservatives and liberals and everybody in between to sit down and actually talk to each other about the Constitution. And they may come at things from different perspectives, but they end up in the same place, which is why we've been able to come up with consensus recommendations that we then advocate for on things like the death penalty and indigent defense, the constitutional power to declare war, all the post-9/11 issues, including Guantanamo, privacy issues, a whole host of issues that you can find at our website at constitutionproject.org. We appreciate your being here. We appreciate your support. And with that, let me turn the program over to my colleague, Mason Clutter, who's going to moderate the program.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Mason Clutter, and I am counsel to the Constitution Project's Rule of Law program. I'm honored to be joined by 5 very distinguished experts today, whom I will introduce in just a few minutes. But just to lay the foundation for our discussion, as you know, nearly a decade after its creation, the detention facility at the naval base at Guantanamo Bay remains and continues to be a very divisive issue. And specifically, we have seen a lot of action recently, and it has been very political, but on the issues of trial, transfer, and release, and detention of those 172 men that remain held at the detention facility. And as you know, it was President Obama's first order of business to address the U.S. detention policy when he executed his first executive order ordering the closure of the detention facility within 1 year. So 2 years later, here we are. The facility remains open. It seems as though new life may be coming to the military commissions, as we're expecting any new cases to be referred to the commissions any day now. And recent acts by Congress have essentially tied the president's hands and prohibited him from using our traditional federal criminal court system. So we're going to talk today about the current status of the law with Guantanamo, on the ability to use civilian courts, on the habeas proceedings that are currently pending and have been heard in the D.C. District Court and are making their way through the D.C. Circuit Court now. We are also going to address a reported executive order by the President that would speak to more review possibly for those detainees currently held in Guantanamo who have lost their habeas cases. And we would like to further discuss how that kind of an order, on whether it's periodic review or a more formal statement of the President's authority to detain, what kind of an effect that will have on those remaining at the facility and the current habeas petitions that are now pending. The detention issue has really been in the forefront in the last week or two when we have heard testimony from high-ranking officials that suggests that our future detention policy is uncertain. We saw Leon Panetta, the director of the CIA, testify last week that if bin Laden were captured, we may hold him in Guantanamo, only to be followed by a statement by Secretary Gates, I believe the next day, stating that we just didn't know just yet what we would do if we were to capture bin Laden. So the state of play of our current detention system seems to be up in the air right now. So with that, I would like to briefly introduce our panelists. You all received a copy of our program today, which gives a much more detailed biographies for our panelists. But we will start off by hearing from Professor Jonathan Hafetz. He is Associate Professor of Law at the Seton Hall University School of Law and the author of the new book, Habeas Corpus After 9/11, Confronting America's New Global Detention System. And I'm not sure if you saw on your way in, but that book is available for purchase after the event on your way to the elevators. And I would just like to wish a very happy birthday yesterday to Professor Habeas. Professor Habeas will be followed by Judge James Robertson. He recently retired from the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, and as you know, he has heard dozens of Guantanamo habeas petitions. I'm also very happy to report that Judge Robertson is one of the newest members of the Constitution Project's Liberty and Security Committee. We will then hear from Mr. Stephen Engel. He is now a partner at Deckert LLP. However, he is also the former Deputy Assistant Attorney General for the U.S. Department of Justice's Office of Legal Counsel, and one of his primary roles in that position was to advise on executive orders. And so we will hear a very detailed discussion from him today on that issue. Mr. Eugene Fidel is the president of the National Institute of Military Justice and senior research scholar in law, the Florence Rogatz Lecture in Law at Yale Law School. And I would like to extend a special thanks to Mr. Fidel for joining us on a last-minute basis. We're very honored to have him here. And finally, we will hear from Ambassador Nancy Soderberg. She is currently the president of Connect U.S. Fund in Washington, D.C., and served as the former alternative representative to the United Nations with the rank of ambassador. She also served as former Deputy Assistant to the President for National Security Affairs and as former Staff Director for the National Security Council. So she will close our discussion today with a discussion of the policy implications of the current U.S. detention system. So, Professor Habeas?